Hi guys, I welcome you all to the next lecture in our anthropology series. So we had started the human genetics chapter. I had told you about the nature and nature versus nurture debate. We had studied pedigree analysis, and today we are going to start with the twin method. Twin method today we are going to do. Okay, so first of all, before we start this, I want to tell you that the twin method, the co-twin method, Foster studies, these are all you can say जो हमने nature versus nurture debate पढ़ी थी ना. That means कि basically how much impact on a trait or a characteristic of a person is dependent on whether it's genetics or its environment. So ये जो होता है ना, the nature versus nurture debate, you can say it is a part of behavioral genetics. Now it is, you can well imagine, it is made up of two words, behavior and genetics. That means behavior is what? The traits, the characteristics, the attributes that we have, and it's you can say relation with the genetic aspect. So nature versus nurture is debate surrounding this behavioral genetics. That means how much of a person's personality traits, whether it's a phenotype, anything is dependent on its genes or environment, right? So in these studies of nature versus nurture, there are many methods which actually show us ki how much a trait, for example, I take a trait as eye color. ठीक है, अब हमें कैसे पता चला? Yesterday I was telling you कि blood group जो होता है, the blood group that we have, it is largely dependent upon our genes, and very you can say minimal role of environment is there. That means environment का there is not much role to play in when it comes to blood group. How am I telling you this? This is because there are studies, there are methodologies that have been used, different methods that have been used, and due to which we have come upon conclusions like this. That means there are traits in us, for example, our height, our weight, our fat deposition in the body, hair color, hair length, hair texture, okay, the body का color, ठीक है, all of these are traits, ठीक है, and these traits have impact of both genetics as well as environment. But whose impact is more, or who determines it, these we have tried to study using different methods, and one of the methods that there are is the twin study method. Okay, so today we are going to do the twin study method, and I could have easily completed twin study, co-twin study methods together, but because I know that these are technical topics and these are things which you might not understand, and also these can come as a sole question in a 10 marker, so I am not covering it in one day, and I want to give as much clarity on these topics to you as much as I can. So today we are only going to do the twin study method, right? So itna aapko, I hope you've understood ki what am I trying to tell you. So now let's get started with the twin study method. So twin study में you can very well see the first word is twin. तो हमको पहले we should first understand what is a twin, because if you are studying a twin, you're doing a twin study, you should first know what are twins. So I'll just tell you, twins are you can say siblings or children that are born at the same time or around the same time, which means, for example, these are two children, ठीक है, they were born to the same mother, very important, same mother at the same time, ठीक है ना. That means usually क्या होता है, whenever a female is pregnant, she will deliver one baby, right? But sometimes there are twins, or there are triplets also, and like that. So twins हो गए, more than one child delivered by the same mother at the same time. So now twins are of two types. You need to understand this. The twins are of two types. One is the monozygotic and the second one is the dizygotic. Now this is unlikely that anybody is going to ask you in the exam, but this is just for your clarity because these terms I am going to use again and again in this topic today. So basically, what is monozygotic and dizygotic? In mono means one, di means two. Okay, so now what happens when for example, what happens, there is a sperm and there is a ovum, right? There is sperm and there is ovum that fertilize together to make a zygote, you can say, right? This is how, when egg and sperm fertilize, they make a zygote, and that zygote eventually becomes takes the form of a baby. So this is normal case, okay? But sometimes what happens is there are two sperms and there are two ovums that fertilize and they make two zygotes, okay? They make two zygotes. So when in the womb of the mother, two different sperms and two different ovums fertilize together to make two different zygotes, it becomes a dizygotic twins. इसमें हो क्या रहा है? It is just that these two babies are taking birth at the same time, nothing else, but they are made from two different sperms and two different ovums. But in the case of monozygotic twins, what happens is that, I'll just rub this, I'll just show you again. In the case of monozygotic, what happens is that there is only one sperm which fertilizes with one ovum, and it eventually forms only one zygote. But what happens in the later phase, this one zygote separates into two sister zygotes or two different zygotes, and then two twins are born. So इसमें हो क्या रहा है? There is only one sperm and one ovum, ठीक है? But in dizygote there were two sperms, two ovums and two independent zygotes. So you understood what is monozygote and what is dizygote. And इसमें क्या होता है? इसमें एक और टाइप का twins वो होते हैं when this doesn't separate. So then the twins, Siamese twins होते हैं. That means twins होते हैं ना जो they are often, you know, connected to each other through their body. So that kind of twins happen because the separation पूरा नहीं हो पाता. There is incomplete separation, not full separation. But when full separation is there, there are two different twins, right? But in the case of dizygotic, there are two sperms, two ovums and then two zygotes. So I hope now the concept of twin is clear to you, who are twins and what kind of twins we are talking about. I think that point is clear. So now what happens is, why are we doing these twin studies? We are doing these twin studies to know the impact of environment or the impact of genetics on individual traits, phenotypes, diseases. For example, if I say there are two monozygotic twins, that means they are made up of one single zygote which later got separated into two. What happened? They have exactly similar genes. They have the same genes because there is one sperm, there is one ovum that fertilized into one zygote, and this zygote was initially this zygote later got separated into two humans, right? But they have the same genes. They are made up of the same sperm and same ova, right? That means in them the genetics is 100% same. So you understand the first concept. That means when we'll talk about monozygotic twins, there is 100% concordance. That means their genes are same. Their genes are similar to each other. Okay, they might differ with each other, and that is maybe because of the environmental component, because in them the genes are 100% same. But when it comes to dizygotic twins like these one, which are made up of two sperm, two ova and two different zygotes, they are no more similar than a normal usual sibling. because usual sibling, what happens in the case of usual sibling also? Same thing, one sperm will fertilize with one ovum and then one zygote will be made. So in this case also there are two separate sperms and two separate ovums fertilizing into two different zygotes. So they are no more similar to the normal siblings. And normal siblings and dizygotic siblings के case में what happens, they have 50% similar genes. ठीक है, that means whatever genes they have, because their parents are same, so they have 50% similar genes. ठीक है. So if I have to tell you in a more table format, what I am saying is, let me again rephrase it, because why the twin study method, sorry, why the twin study method, our objective is to study nature versus nurture debate. That means it is a component of behavioral genetics. That means how much of a trait is influenced by either our genes or environment. So if I have to draw a table to tell you, there are two and why we are taking twins, we'll tell you why we are taking twins. Why is twins so important? This line is not nice. I'll make one more. So okay, so now I'll take three categories here. There is one is the monozygotic twins. I'm writing MZ for them. Then there are dizygotic twins, and then there are normal siblings, right? So let me tell you difference क्या रहेगा. Monozygotic you need to know because they are made up of one sperm and basically one zygote. So their sex is going to be the same. That means because they are eventually made up of only one sperm and one ovum that fertilize. So either it is going to be an XX or an XY. So they are going to be of the similar gender. ठीक है, उनका gender is going to be the same. So either they are going to be two boys or two girls. Dizygotic because there are two sperms and two different ovums, so they can be of different genders. You need to understand this point. And obviously normal siblings also different genders के, they can be also of different genders. Now comes the question of genes. Let me change the color. Genes and environment. देखो, I already told you in monozygotic genes are 100% same. ठीक है. Dizygotic I told you, in dizygotic they have 50% similar genes and they are no different than a normal sibling. So even normal siblings have 50% similar genes to each other. ठीक है. When it comes to environment, there are two kind of environment. Let me just leave this environment component right now because I am going to tell you and then fill it up. Okay. So थोड़ा बहुत you must have understood कि हम what are we trying to do. So while twin studies, we are conducting research on either identical twins. Identical are the monozygotic, ठीक है, monozygotic, or the fraternal twins. Fraternal twins are the dizygotic twins. Okay. So we are studying monozygotic and dizygotic because, and why we are studying these two kind of twins, because if they are twins, that means they are born at the same time. So many things in their environment component is also going to be the same. For example, if we are two normal siblings, ठीक है, जैसे for example if I take my own example, I have a brother and he is 6 years elder to me I should say, he is 6 years elder to me. So what happens is, even though we are having a similar family ka environment, right, but the time he was born and the time I was born, there was a lot of difference in every environment that he or maybe I was born into. Because when my brother was there, my parents were living in a joint family. Okay, when I was born, we had moved to a nuclear family. So this is one of very big differences, right? It has a lot of bearing on our personality. So It is a very important component. Okay, second thing I would say, when my brother was born, maybe the financial situation of my parents was different, and when I was born it was, you know, different. It was much better than what my brother was born into, right? So environment of a normal sibling will differ more because they are born around different times, and with different time your psychology changes, the parenting changes, right? For example, my brother was the first child, so that time my parents must be reacting differently. I was the second child and I was born 6 years later, so by that time they were maybe more experienced, right? So the parenting must have changed. So this is how a normal sibling ka environment is very different. But at least in the dizygotic, genetically to they are more like normal siblings only, but environment component is the same. Because for example, there are two children that are born to the parents, ठीक है, at the same time, ठीक है. For example, me and my brother were born at the same time, so either we would both have been in a nuclear family or a joint family, ठीक है. The financial situation of my parents would have been the same. They were both, my parents were having the children for the first time or the second time, so the impact would have been the same. So now you understand how in a dizygotic twin, even though the genetic component is not like a normal sibling only, but environment component, you know, is lot more similar to the monozygotic. Because in monozygotic also the twins are getting born at the same times, so all these environmental components for them are going to be same, right? So now you understand why are we studying monozygotic and dizygotic and not the normal siblings. Because normal siblings में तो ना not the genes and not the environment, nothing is similar. But in monozygotic, their environment is same, their environment is also same, and their genes are also same. But in dizygotic, their environment is same, but genetic component is not same. And in normal siblings, nothing is same. So we'll say 50%, because parents तो at the end of the day are same, ठीक है. I was also born to the same parents, he was also born to the same parents. When my brother was born, even then my parents were doctors. When I was born, even then my parents were doctors. So some things don't change even in the case of normal siblings also. So we would say this is the you can, in a table format you can understand. So if we have to see people who are really similar to each other, they are the monozygotic twins, and that is why even they are called the identical twins. Because they have genes also similar, environment also similar. But in case of dizygotic, they have similar environment but different genes. You understood? And by this we are going to see how genes and environment operate and how they you know, impact the different traits in a human being. ठीक है? So it is this twin study that we are doing. It is a twin study that we are doing is a broader methodology, ठीक है, in behavior genetics I've told you, ठीक है, which uses the information of like sibling studies करते हैं, adoption studies करते हैं. This adoption studies and all we'll do tomorrow, right? So let's see. Now for example, I've showed you this chart yesterday also, that there are different traits that have different impacts, right? And how we have come to these conclusions is because of these kind of studies that we have done. For example, in the case of blood group, that is genetically determined and it has very little environmental component, whereas many mental disorders, ठीक है, it is believed that disease जो mental disorders है ना, like schizophrenia, depression, autism, these have very strong environmental component. Even though they are genetically people are genetically susceptible to these diseases, but whether these diseases will manifest itself in the real world, it depends upon the kind of environment that we are living in. And these conclusions, these different traits and what is its impact based on its genes and environment is due to these studies that we have done, and one of the methods is the twin method. Okay, so what happens in the case of identical or monozygotic twins? They have 100% similar genes, I've told you, which means that most of the differences, if there are any in these children, are going to be because of the environment. Now I've told you, now you will say ki how come ma'am they have the similar genes also? You have told that they have similar genes, then you have told they are similar environment, so then how can there be any difference? I'll tell you how. Because environment has two components. You need to understand that environment, when we are talking about environment, there are two kind of environments. One is the common environment and one is a unique environment. Okay, so environment ke there are two components. One is unique environment and one is common environment. Common environment is the same which I've already told you. Parents, financial status, where are you living, the kind of parenting that you're getting. These is a common school, common dancing class. This is all of your common environment. Okay? But what is your unique environment? Unique environment could you could say that your personal experiences. Okay? Your personal experiences, your own attributes. It's not like when we are talking about two identical twins, they are going to be similar in each aspect, because no two people are same. Because even if you talk about two identical twins, they have different fingerprints. Okay? So we can't say that people are actually identical in every respect. Maybe one is more, one eats more food, so one has better nutrition than the other, and one does not eat that much food, or one has different liking of food and the other one has different liking of food. One has different liking for dresses, other has different. So this all things creates differences and makes a human unique. So that is the unique environment that a man or a person has. So when we talk about monozygotic twins, I'm so sorry, when we talk about monozygotic twins, because they have two things similar to each other, and one is their genes, one is their environment, but environment mein only common environment, because only common environment is the same. Unique environment is going to be different. So you can say in the case of a monozygotic twin, because they have genes also same and common environment also same, so anything which is going to make a difference in their personalities or their traits is eventually going to be their unique environment, right? Because difference किससे आया? Difference came from the unique environment. So जो भी है, unique हो या common, whatever it is, whether it is unique or it is common, part तो it is a part of environment only. So we can say in monozygotic twins, if there is any discordance, that means there are trait. For example, there is a trait and that trait is missing in one and present in one twin. Okay, that means discordance. There are two words, concordance and discordance. Concordance is if we are taking two twins, okay, and we are studying a trait in them. For example, the trait is schizophrenia. Okay, schizophrenia is a mental disorder. Okay, we are studying this trait, and so we are assuming that both of them will have the gene for schizophrenia because their genetic component is 100% same. So both are going to have this gene. So yahan tak we have talked about it. But eventually only one person develops the disease schizophrenia. So how is this possible that a monozygotic twin, only one person is having this disease? This is because, as I told you, in the case of mental disorders, what happens is, though it has a genetic component, whether the disease manifests itself or not is largely dependent upon the environment and what triggers that human. For example, because I told you they have, even the monozygotic twins have unique environment to themselves. Maybe one was, you can say, more one was a sports person, one used to like sports and one used to like studying, right? So what happens is that this sport person actually went on to become a very popular sports person, because he did so much in sports, and there are few people who actually become so good at sports, and he was one of those persons who got very very famous because of his sports skills. And the other person, even though he was good at studying, but he could not become a very extraordinary person and get that much fame as that his sports sibling got. So what happened, because he was relatively unsuccessful, or as compared to the other sibling that he had, he became a little less. ठीक है, though both had the gene for schizophrenia or mental disorder, only one got the disease. ठीक है, so now you understand कि even if we talk about monozygotic twins also, they have 100% same genes, but many a times what is going to happen or what trait they are going to develop, ठीक है, it depends upon the environment, because in their case the common environment is also the same, so a lot of unique environment in them causes the difference. So how we have come to these conclusions is by using these twin methods and studying it. Now these were two sisters, okay, even they are identical twins, and they were raised up in different families. They were in them adoption studies were done. So she was raised up in a different family, and she was raised up in a different family, to see the impact of environment on them. So now I'll tell you about these two girls tomorrow, because adoption study is not the part of today. But as far as I'm telling you, अभी तक तो you must be understanding what I'm teaching you. So in identical twins के case में 100% of the genes are same. But if there is any difference in them, for example, height में difference is there, how much one person gets bored, or how much one is intelligent or not, whether one develops depression or not, these are things that can be attributed to their environment, right? So the presence of a given trait in only one member of the pair, for example depression ले लेते हैं, whether both has depression or not, ठीक है, will be whether one person has depression and the other is not having the depression, it is called discordance. I told you ना, concordance हो गया, there is one trait and both of them are having it, that means there is concordance. Discordance हो गया, there is one trait, in this case we are talking about depression, and only one twin is having it and the other is not having it, that means it is discordance. And this discordance in case of monozygotic happens because of environmental effect. So I hope you are understanding. So हमने twin study से क्या पता किया, twin study से we came up to a very significant conclusion that in case of monozygotic, because 100% genes are similar, so even if there is a difference in them, that is largely attributed to their unique environment. So you now understand. I hope I am clear. So in case of dizygotic also I'll tell you, so maybe the topic will become more clear to you. In dizygotic we had already talked कि dizygotic में genes तो they are only 50% same, but environment is 100% same. So you can say that in their case, if anything is creating the discordance, it could be the genes, right, or it could be the environment also. But इस case में more genetic difference, right, because discordance क्या हो गया, one person is having the trait, the other person is not having the trait, right, that is discordance. So इनके case में, because we are assuming that they also have similar environment but very different genes to each other, so in their case the discordance might be because of the genes, but also it can be because of the environment also. But dizygotic तो ठीक है, but monozygotic में we got very conclusive ideas, right? So in fraternal or dizygotic twins, because they share only 50% of their genes as normal siblings, so if they have differences to each other, it is because it could be because of environment also, ठीक है, and it could be because of the genes also. So twins also share many aspects of their environment, that means उनका similar environment होता है, because they are born into the same family, culture, wealth. I have told you all about this. So now what is the model? Model I've told you. The study, now how do we conduct the twin studies? The twin studies are done assessing the variance of a behavior. That means you are having a trait, it could be anything, and how much difference is there, we try and study that. ठीक है, तो इसमें what we are doing, so there is a shared environment, we have talked about it, that means event that happens to both twins, वो shared environment हो गया. There is a unshared environment, that means you can say the unique environment, and then there is the genetic effect. ठीक है, the genes. ठीक है, so इसको हम ACE मॉडल बोलते हैं. दिस द एक्रोनिम इज ACE. सो A हो गया additive genes, that means whatever genes, because human is a product of its genes also, right? So additive genes, A से genes आ गया, C से your common environment, and E से your unique environment. So you can say in twin study we use a methodology of ACE, in which we are taking three things. One is your genetics, second is your common environment, and third is your unique environment. And based on this, we look at the proportion of variance of a behavior, whether there is discordance or concordance amongst the traits. Now what is concordance? Concordance is that the probability of an individual having a trait if the other one has it. For example, you are two twins, ठीक है? If this person is having the depression, what are your chances to have depression, right? So this is the concordance. Concordance तब होगा when if he is having depression, even you are having depression. So that would be concordance. Discordance क्या हो गया? One person is having depression and the other one is not having depression. So that would be discordance. So इससे क्या होता है? What we are trying to do is, by twin studies, we are studying different traits in human beings, and we are looking at it with two people. One is monozygotic and the other one is dizygotic, because we are assuming that in both the cases the environment for both of them is similar. So whatever differences are there is because of the genes. अगर कोई चीज़ है which is there in a dizygotic person also and monozygotic person also, तो इफेक्ट किसका है? एनवायरमेंट का है, बिकॉज डाइजाइगोटिक में जेनेटिक कंपोनेंट तो डिफरेंट है. बट इफ मोनोजाइगोटिक में वो है और डाइजाइगोटिक में वो नहीं है, दैट मीन्स इट हैज़ अ जेनेटिक कंपोनेंट. लिसन टू मी अगेन, आई एम going to say it again because I'm 100% sure that 50% of you have not understood this, and ye trust me, it is difficult to understand what I am saying. Monozygotic, dizygotic, okay, what am I saying? Environment हम assume करके चल रहे हैं कि दोनों के लिए it is 100% similar. For them the genetics is 50%, for genetics is 100%. For example, if anything which is common to all of them, so we can say it has more environmental component, because for dizygotic तो genes are, they do not share 100% similar genes. But if there are any trait which is different for dizygotic and similar for monozygotic, so we can say that it has a genetic component. Now I will tell you with an example because you must not be understanding it. Now look at this example. For example, there is diabetes. I am taking diabetes as a trait, okay? Diabetes trait हो गया. So concordance का क्या मतलब है? Concordance means both of them are having it. That means in the case of monozygotics, it is seen the chances of monozygotic twins having diabetes is 85%, and in the case of dizygotic twins, both of them having is 36%. That means for dizygotic, both of them having diabetes is less percentage as compared to people, the the monozygotic twins having it, right? Percentage से हमें क्या समझ में आ रहा है? देखो, there are two pairs. This is a monozygotic pair, this is a dizygotic pair. अब इन दोनों को डायबिटीज हो जाए, both of them having diabetes, 85% chances are there. Either they will have it or not, 85% chances are there. That means it is quite high. The chances of both of them having the diabetes is quite high. It is 85%. Whereas compared to these two people who are dizygotic, it is only 36%, less than half. So can we say that diabetes can have a genetic influence? Maybe diabetes is more of a genetic trait, because had it been an environmental trait तो दोनों में similar होना चाहिए था. It should have been similar for both of them, because environment, whether it is for a monozygotic twin or a dizygotic twin, environment component is the same. So had diabetes का अगर हम बोलते कुछ भी लेना देना environment से होता, so concordance for both monozygotic and dizygotic would have been the same, but it is different. That means genetics play a part. ठीक है, एक और एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. नाउ आई विल टेल यू विद वन मोर एग्जाम्पल. नाउ इट शुड बी क्लियर टू यू. नहीं होगा तो आई विल टेल यू वंस मोर व्हाट एल्स कैन वी डू, राइट? सो कॉफी ड्रिंकिंग, ठीक है, वी आर ड्रिंकिंग कॉफी. So what is the concordance? That means what is the chances that both of the monozygotic twins will have coffee? 80%. What is the chances that both of dizygotic twins will have coffee? 80%. That means in both monozygotic and dizygotic, genes 100% same, 50% same. Environment 100% same, 100% same. In this case, both of them are likely to have coffee. That means concordance rates are same. Both of them will have coffee, both of them will have coffee. So that means environment must be playing a part on how much a person can have coffee. Because had it been genetics playing a part, then there would have been differences in the concordance rates. ठीक है? In case of smoking, 75% chances are there that if we have monozygotic twins, they are going to smoke. ठीक है? In case of dizygotic twins, only 42% chances are there that both of them are going to smoke. That means even in smoking, we can say genetics plays a part. Genetics has a role to play, because environment तो दोनों के लिए same है. It is same for the dizygotic, it is same for the monozygotic. So why monozygotic people more they are having smoke? Because their genes are also same. That means genetics plays a part. ठीक है? Now this I have told you one thing. Now as I have told you that even in the case of monozygotic, we can't assume that 100% environment is same, right? Even their common environment is different. So anything which shows 100% shows absolute identical behavior, and anything below 100% shows behavior that might be different to each other. So in case of monozygotic, if anything is 100%, that means it is absolutely similar to each other, and if it is less than 100%, that means there is slight here and there difference, right? So थोड़ा बहुत तो I've told you example of concordance क्या हो जाएगा. That means we are seeing that whether there are two people, they are having the trait or not having the trait. If both are having the trait, that is also concordance. If both of them are not having the trait, that is also concordance, right? So it is not that both are going to have it only. For example, both are not having depression. ठीक है? That is also concordance. Both are having depression. Even that is concordance. So you need to understand. And discordance क्या हो गया? One person is having and one person is not having. So these things, these twin studies have helped us to show a lot about whether genetics has a role to play in anything, or whether it's the environmental component. So these are certain characteristics that are studied with the twin studies, and they have come up with conclusions. Like in coffee, I've told you how much environment plays a part, how much genes play a part, and I've explained the whole concept to you. Now limitations. Twin study method also has its limitations like other methods. First is twins as such is a rare phenomena, right? It's not like every day twins are born. Every day twins must be born in different parts of the world, but not as common as a normal delivery, right? So when twins are not a very common phenomena, how can we generalize things based on that? We are making big conclusions that, for example, schizophrenia, ठीक है, how much impact of schizophrenia is due to genes, how much is environmental impact, but we are doing it with the help of a study that is based on twins, and twins is a rare kind of a phenomena. So how can we generalize based on things which are very not very easy to study? कभी कितने twins होंगे आपके, how many twins do you have in your known, right? So how can you generalize based on a rare phenomena is one limitation. Then the second is we are assuming that in case of monozygotic and dizygotic their environment is 100% similar, but then only I told you that common environment to they are sharing, that is same, but their unique environment is different. So that means we are writing their 100%, but even then I'm telling you that unique environment is different. So that means there is a limitation. How can we assume that 100% environment is same? Then monozygotic twins may they have differences in terms of environment phase in the womb. That means even in the womb there are difference in environment, right? So we can't assume their common environment or unique environment to be exactly similar. They have differences, ठीक है? Monozygotic environment may be more similar to the dizygotic. अब देखो dizygotic के केस में क्या होता है? For example, I say कि I told you that they can have different genders. That means one can be a boy, one can be a girl, because they are made up of different two sperms and two different ova, right? So in that case what is happening, for example, one is a boy and one is a girl, ठीक है? So parents are going to treat the boy and girl differently even if they are born in the same time, ठीक है? So that means environment will be different for them as compared to monozygotes, because monozygote either both of them would be boys or girls, they are going to buy similar kind of dresses for them, similar kind of games for them. So इनके लिए environment फिर भी same हो सकता है, लेकिन in case of dizygotic differences are there. So we can't assume कि dizygotic के case में भी environment 100% same होता है, ठीक है? Even though genetically identical, monozygotic twins are not exactly the same, ठीक है ना? Even monozygotic are not the same because उनका unique environment different होता है. So these are all the limitations, ठीक है? Their fingerprints are different. So we have talked about this. Then even if we are saying genes are 100% same, ठीक है? We said genes are 100% same in case of monozygotic, but even then genes have their own different time to turn on and turn off, ठीक है? Based on different environmental experiences, ठीक है ना? So I've told you whether a gene will manifest itself or not is also triggered by the environment, right? So what environmental circumstances you are getting is going to trigger the gene, whether the gene is going to turn on or off. So that means जो हम twin studies करके इतने बड़े बड़े conclusions निकाल रहे हैं, that is not something very viable. We cannot trust them because even if 100% genetics are the same, then why is it that one person is having the disease and another is not? Because there are other factors, there are other complexities that play a part. It is not as simple as only genetics, only environment. Things are not black and white, things are grey. Even if there is the genes that are similar, then there are 100 other things that are going to work on them and make it different for them, right? So genetic inheritance, because with twin studies we have mostly tried to study mental disorders and how they react, how mental disorders happen to people, what is what genetics plays a part in mental disorders, but you can't do it because it's a very complex issue. As I told you, 100 things plays a part in that. You can't only say okay, genetics is the only thing that is playing a part. ठीक है, your environment, what is triggering you, your different ideology, your personality, your culture, your family, 100 things plays a part in a mental disorder. So these are complex things and we cannot try and solve it with a very black and white idea. So I hope guys, I know this is a little bit tough topic to understand, but that is why I only picked up this topic for today, because I could have easily told you, matlab, at a cursory glance, I could have given you a cursory glance of the topic and could have easily moved on, but that is not the idea of this lecture series. So I hope you have understood it. Rest we can do, what we can do is, because I feel that many of you, because you do not have medical background, you might be finding it tough. So मैं इसका एक I can take a weekly answer writing question. I can again pick up a question from this topic, right? So if you guys want that, please post in the comment section below. Thank you so much.